A pointed nib has a slit running vertically across the middle, splitting it into two tines. When you write without putting any pressure on the nib, the stroke that you'll produce is a thin stroke, often called a hairline. You can create a hairline whether you are writing in an upward motion, which is called an upstroke, or a downward motion called a downstroke. When you put pressure on the nib, the two tines will splay out, revealing a gap in the middle where the ink will flow to form a shade. Notice that the two tines are sharp enough to make grooves on the paper. Try this without ink first. Apply a gentle pressure on the nib to separate the tines and then move your pen downwards. If you look closely, the two tines will have created a gutter-like indentation on the paper. When you try this with ink, you'll see that the ink will flow onto the paper and stop at the gutters that you've made. Play around with how steep you hold your pen in relation to the paper. Feel how much resistance you get when you raise your nib high from the paper versus when you put it lower and closer to the paper. The resistance is more obvious when you're doing upstrokes. Do some shades. Apply more pressure, then apply less. Try to get a feel for what amount of pressure you are most comfortable with. It comes with time and practice, but in order to produce consistent looking letters, it is important that you know how heavy or how light your hand tends to write with a pointed pen, and that you maintain that same controlled pressure as you write. Practice pressure control. Create wedge-shaped shades by starting with a full pressure and then gradually relieving it to a point. Then do the opposite by starting with a point and then gradually applying full pressure. Do some swirls, ovals, or loops, or any fun shape you want. Put pressure whenever you're doing a downstroke and let the nib glide when you're doing an upstroke. Watch the transitions from shades to hairlines and then back again. Try to keep the transitions as smooth as possible by gradually putting and lifting pressure as you go.